Hey guys, what is up? It's McGuy. Today we're going to be creating a platformer in Scratch 3.0. We're not going to be creating this into a game, but just the basic physics and the gravity and how that works together. So we have two sprites right now. We have the platform, and as you can see, it's just a green flag that doesn't do anything right now, but I have a bunch of blocks here. We're going to make sure that goes to x0, y0, and it's set size to 100% so that it fits properly in our stage. Then in the block, we just have a square that has round edges. And what we're going to do is we're going to start coding. So I'm going to explain this as I go, but mainly at the end. So the first thing we want to do is when flag is clicked, we want to drag in a forever. Now inside of the forever, you want two ifs, but we can duplicate that once we have it. So if key right arrow is pressed, then we're going to change our speed x by 1. So that's going to be a variable that we make that controls how much we're going to move left and right. So change speed x by 1. Then we're going to duplicate this and make it left. And then once we have that, then we're going to duplicate that and change it to left. And once we have that, we're going to make it speed x, change it by -1. And then you want to change x by your speed x. So once we have that like that, what we're going to do is we're going to drag in an if else and make sure this is an if else, otherwise you might get a little confused. We're going to say if touching platform. So right here, if touching platform, we want to change x by x times -1, speed x times -1. So we have that here, go into variables, speed x times -1. Then we're going to set x to 0. Now this is the wall script to say if you can hit walls or not, and I'll explain that a little bit later. So then set speed x to x times 0.8. This will slow it down gradually so that it's not just a linear way to move it and it actually exponentially slows down. And we're going to set this to speed x times 0.8. So in easier terms to understand, this basically means that it's going to gradually slow down and it's not just going to stop when you let go of the right or left arrow key. Then we're going to drag in a change y by, and we're going to create a new variable. Now this one's going to be called speed y, and as you may guess, it's going to control how much we go up and down. So change y by speed y. We will also want another if else, so we're going to drag in an if else here, and then we want to go to motion, and you're going to say change y by, and then operators, multiplication, -1, and right here. Now in this little section right here, once again, it's going to be if touching platform. So you can kind of see the resemblance between this code right here and this code right here for the y-axis. It's just changed so that it's up and down instead of controlling the left and right. So then we're going to set y to 0, or set y speed to 0, that's what I mean. And then you want to do something special. Now this is going to control whether you can jump or not. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call this lock. I'll explain this later, but basically this controls whether you can jump or not at the moment, and making sure you can only jump when you're touching your ground. Otherwise you'd be able to triple jump, quadruple jump, and it would break your game. So we want to go into operators. We want to drag in the equal sign, and we want to see if it equals 0, if lock equals 0. So lock is going to be a Boolean variable. What that means is that it only has two states, 0 and 1. So speed y and speed x, they can be any number, negative or positive or 0. But lock can only be 0 or 1, which means it's a Boolean variable. That's something to keep in mind and is very useful when you get into more advanced types of coding. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag in an if, and we're going to check if key space is pressed, or if your up arrow is pressed, whichever you choose to make it so that you can jump. So I'm going to do it so that you can jump when you press the up arrow, but some people like to do space, but whatever floats your boat, you can do that. So then we're going to go into variables, and we're going to set our speed y to 10. This is going to control how high you jump. So if you set it to 100, you're going to jump really high, but if you set it to 10, it's more realistic in a platformer game. And like I said, it's 0 or 1, and that's a Boolean variable. So we're checking if it's 0, and if the key up arrow is pressed, we're going to set its speed y to 10, which is going to make it jump, and then set lock to 1. We also want to do some stuff in our else. And what's going to happen here is it's going to be a change y by, or speed y by, -1. So this is going to make it go down so that it just doesn't stay up in the air. And then set lock to 0. Again, there's only two states for lock, and that's because it's a Boolean variable. Okay, so here's our code. We also want to make sure that when green flag is clicked, it goes to x0, y0, or actually maybe a little bit to the right. So I'd say 30, 0, and then set x to 0 and set y to 0, or speed x. Sorry, I keep on calling them it's x and y, but they're actually speed x and speed y. So as you can see, if we play our game, you can move right and left, jump up and down, and there you go. You have a platformer. So you can jump up, try to get to the green flag, and it actually works really well. So now I'm going to go in and explain the game. So here we're just doing some basic stuff to make sure that it starts the game properly and there's no set speed x and speed y properties. Here we're going to do the x and y, the x-axis movement. So if right arrow is pressed, change speed x by 1. And again, speed x controls how much you move left and right. Then if left arrow is pressed, you want to do -1 so that it moves to the left. Here we're using that speed x and applying it to our character so that the x position moves by the speed x variable. Here you're going to check if you're touching the platform, which is this sprite that controls the sprite that has your platform in it. And so this is wall detection. So as you can see, it doesn't let us go through the walls, and that's because of this block. So all we're doing is we're saying if you're moving right, then go left and then stop moving. That's what this is doing. So if you're going right, left, then go left. If you're going left, then go right. That's what times -1 does. And then we're going to set the speed to 0 so that you can continue to do that and glitch out the game. Otherwise, if you're not touching the platform, we want to slowly and gradually slow down the x position and the x speed. So as you can see, it's smooth, same with the y, and that's because it's not being linear and not just stopping as you let go. So then we're going to use our speed y, which is the same as speed x except for the up and down movement, and we're changing our y by that. Again, we're touching if your character is touching the platform, and that is going to control your ceiling detection, so making sure you can't go through the ceilings and jump through them. And then, like you see here, we're changing y by speed y times -1. So if you're going up, then go down once you hit a ceiling. Also, change the speed y to 0 so that you fall. And then we're checking if lock equals 0. This controls if you can jump or not. So 0 means you can jump. That's why in here we have an if key up arrow is pressed, set speed y to 10, which is going to make sure you can move, and then set lock to 1. So this will make it so that once you jump, you can't jump again, otherwise you'd be able to double jump and triple jump. Now, if you're not touching the platform, then change speed y by -1 so that you continue to fall and you don't continue to go up. So like if I press up here, as you can see, it comes back down, just like if you were to jump in real life. So gravity's pulling it down. Then we're going to set lock to 0 so that once you don't, you can jump again. That's the basic code, and that's the basic gist of it. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. If nothing is working, let me know in the comments below. Other people can help you out too. So if you're part of this community, make sure that you help other people out when they have problems. You guys can subscribe, drop a like, that'd be great. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Peace.